Hello everyone, welcome back to SketchCraft Live, where I continue to paint this Batman, primarily using gradient maps, and then painting on top and everything. So I'm going to make an in-depth, when I say in-depth, I'll make a 10-minute video explaining how to sort of use these gradient maps for yourself. But it's sort of been like an experiment that I think is working pretty well. So it's been fun. It's been fun. I was going to finish this up last night, but man, dude, I've peace, dude. But I just had to get some sleep. Like I finally caught up to me last night the whole week. So here we go. Let me just post the links and we'll move on. There. So I added that. East. Yep. There's not enough sweetener, but yeah, just stir it up. There's chai in there.
Is that what that is?
It's chai.
Something tastes off.
Okay. Grab the YouTube link. Share. 1 second, folks. This is the what I try to do now on the YouTube is just trim this part out. I should have it all set up before I start, but I need the links, so not much I can do. All right, link shared. We can get started. Turn on the Q&A just in case. All right, so I did play around with this a little bit last night for like 15 minutes before I kind of went to sleep. And one thing I did was start to build up. Let me just go ahead and delete hidden layers. So a couple things I did here. quickly was I organized the folders a little bit. We can call this Fixie. So you can quickly see right here. So the line arts I tinted to a red color. So these are initially just tonal line arts. This is the black and white. So here's the flats, right? If I duplicate this and desaturate, so you can see there's the flats, the basic, situation that was set up for selection purposes. Then we turn on the grayscale, which needs some more work, but that's it right there. And then there's the basic gradient maps that I had set up. I think the only thing that I added differently was actually made a glow. And rather than painting the glow in on a screen layer or hard light layer, I did it through the gradient map, so I could save this stuff. Moon glow. So a little bit of that. And then what I did was I tinted the lines red, so you could see. If this was a cooler picture, like if this was like, blue, purpley thing, then maybe the lines would be like a deeper violet rather than warm. And then there were some slight adjustments to these maps. See, this is where I'm gonna have to go back in and like, there, his skin, his suit color. So just a lot of little color adjustment. I almost wonder if that could come down 60%, just to tonalize it to the piece a little bit. So basically, once you set up the maps, the idea that I have is that you set up the basic coloring that you want it to be. So let's say everything, his suit's going to be gray to green. For the highlights would be greenish, and the suit itself would be gray. Well, I also have the background tinted, right? So at that point, I want to make certain that I turn the opacity down a little bit on that map so that he blends in with the scenery a little. So it's a little bit different than I'm normally working. Normally, I set everything up and then I'll set everything up in flats, like his suit, his gloves, his belt, everything's got a flat color. Then you light the background, and then as like a multiply, I would apply a copy of it to the character at like 30%. So it's like the inverse of that, basically. And I have no idea what this is going on right here. Oh, that was okay. I get. Yeah, I might use that as a green fill. So then what I did is I just filled in this little chest emblem, and I need more of that sort of thing. Then I have a copy of the line arts, which I'm still on the fence about. I like that it brings the pencil back in. And then I started working the lighting so we could sort of see. Made sure that background set to the moon. That's just tinting the edges there. So I started to hand paint some of the detail back in that naturally is going to fall off into dark because of the pencils. But then I started adding a moonlight layer. And this was tricky. I actually added it around his cowl as opposed to on him like normal because it started to cut into that silhouette, which I don't want to do. Then I started messing with this green light that I figured there might be like a neon green street light behind him underneath. And then I need to come here and delete that. And then I add a brightness layer. So this is what we sort of have to start with. I know cap needs to be turned back. So then I'm going to You know, where's the well, that's weird. One second, having a little computer trouble. Test, test, and that's working. How come I can't? That is the weirdest thing. I can't hear any audio. So weird. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But I'm not in the mood to deal with it. So let me grab my phone real quick. I'll just have to fix that later. I mean, I'm gonna have to. If I can't hear playback through my phone, then we got a serious freaking problem. And I don't see all my cables and everything are semi-packed up from the trip, so let me just put on something for me here. All right, let's get to work. It's taking forever. All right. So first things first, I need to go back into, I'm going to leave that brightness up. Actually, you know what I want to do is I want to see if it matters. So, all right. So it's a little easier for me to see with the, so why I need to. Battering's not working for Senor Rob, so. Dude, these flats. I paid someone to do these 2 years ago, and she had her boyfriend work on it, and he's, I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to them when I got him back. So, whatever. And then, well, where's that snap? That right there. For some reason, I modified something, and I don't know why I did it. So what's suppressing that? See, this is a problem. This should be green right here, and something is getting in the way of that. What could it be? That's fine. So something isn't working right. And I've dragged in the old one. They don't follow. So let's see. Let's do a little troubleshooting. I turn everything off, and I still don't get the green that I want. So that means something changed underneath the map. That's what it is. Oh, it's right there. I turned that off. Okay. This is what happens when you kind of like you're making this up as you go. You end up creating layers that you didn't intend, and you don't know. I mean, you gotta. The whole point of doing this is to speed up stuff. So it's working in most ways and not in just a file setup way. But I spent the first 10 years of my career trying to like make good stuff, and so now it's like, okay, how can I like automate and speed up, and then get everything sort of working together. All right. Okay. So let's take that. And then we're gonna go to my initial shade layer. And certain things, with secondary shade, need to be just darkened in. like this. So when you're painting in these shades, it works. I'm painting in the mask, so it works from dark to light. The trick is to, if you don't want it as dark, just paint in a gray. So as a quickie, rather than create a bunch of swatches that I'm sampling from, the quick way is I just sample from Use for Web, because it's Use for Web colors are basically just to get you there. Grayscale, you know. I got this little bat dude here. I'm going to attempt to use the lasso tool as much as possible. Just to build up my lasso tool skills. This is the Cintiq 22. I really prefer the older Cintiq USX 20. The 20. 20 is more square. This is probably just I could do it this much. Like you could take off like like this much Cintiq and I'd be fine. This is the 22 HD though, but they don't make the square smaller ones anymore. They just do the 22 and then the 13 companion or whatever, which I'm not a fan of. But my smaller one died on me, and my backup I have at work. So they're awesome. You know, it going from Wacom. Do you use a Wacom? Like a normal Wacom pad? Oh, by the way, I have your chat stream on this computer. I have another computer right here, so I'm able to see straight ahead. So if I'm not looking at the cam as I talk. I'm still looking at your conversation. Yeah, so the Intuos. Going from Intuos to Cintiq is like going from mouse to Intuos. It did take me a little bit, but the thing that I sort of credit the most with the Cintiq, other than just obviously painting with your hands is more fun, is it solved carpal tunnel for me. So I used to just press too hard when I would draw. Um, I was able to make my pencils lighter. I can move to inks. But when you draw, like I could do a lot of digital art. When you draw on here, you don't need as much pressure. So over the years, doing whole illustrations on the Cintiq just meant I didn't have to press so hard, and it's probably saved my career, honestly, just from that alone. Also, the other thing that's a little annoying about the newer Cintiq is the buttons. So you have these buttons on the side that you can hotkey, right? Same as the Intuos. But the buttons on these newer ones, they're all the same width and shape. So I had to put little like colored stickies on them to know which one is which. But the older one, they had like it had this configuration and they had little like I won't say like braille knobs, but kind of like braille knobs. So I could tell which one was what as I feel. And here they don't have that anymore, so kind of annoying. But they still make the best version of this. So what can you do? Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, the mixed media thing is sort of a necessary evil, like evil in that it set me back in terms of like technical ability. Like I got so good with all digital that like I was like, oh wow, I can produce now at this super awesome high end level. But I had no art to sell, right? Like everything was digital. So it was like, you know, just being able to actually sell people art, not just for money, but because people would like to own something you do. I just didn't have that option anymore. So I started doing watercolors and then markers, and then I wanted to be able to take those drawings and those paintings to even a higher level at some point. So I started doing digital painting on top of that, and one thing led to another, and now it's like, you know, it's cool, right? I mean, like it's different, I think. Not a lot of people. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And so now what I'm trying to do is just uh everything sort of mixed together, like the writing, the graphic design, the books, and then maybe simplify some of my processes. So. Like this particular piece I'm working on now, these pencils are really rough. It has that grit, that this Batman. No, this was traditionally drawn. This is all pencil, gritty pencil. So the coloring is digital. And I did it a couple years ago for a pencil commission called Brutal. It's like that 90s, McFarlane, Stephen Platt, gritty pencil feel. And but I had the hardest time figuring out how to color that and maintain the pencils. I did like the Splatterhouse piece and I did a spawn or two, but it was always a real chore. And a lot of times I lost the pencil grit, the texture in the pencil. But I started looking at Darksiders, the game Darksiders, and I noticed that a lot of the concept art was done right over gritty pencils, like that same kind of look. And one of the artists on there was talking about how he used gradient maps. He just mentioned it in some blog post, and I was like, "What the hell's a gradient map?" I mean, I know Photoshop pretty well, but adjustment layers are things that I could never use um, in the industry. Like I work in apparel, and we can't use a lot of adjustment layers because you have to have tangible layers. So I started messing around in the adjustment layers, and I figured out what he was talking about. Um, and I started experimenting with it about a month back, of all things, like a month ago, and it's been pretty awesome ever since. Like because now I can get this stuff colored pretty effortlessly. Like it's just I'm making something called Game Cave. It's a book slash video game magazine series, like a graphic novel. It's one part novel, one part concept art book, and one part video game magazine. It's called Game Cave, and it's a story that takes place in a JRPG world sort of bound by JRPG rules. But they're at such a level with the technology that they play all their games virtually because no one wants to die. So the lead character is a sky pirate who doesn't really like video games and or modern equivalents, and so she ends up crash landing and getting a job at this place called Game Cave. And what they do is they import retro games from our universe. Um, there's a section of the population, monsters, that can't play VR, and then there's just fans of old school gaming. So they import our video games, and so she gets a job there, and adventures ensue. Thank you. I'll be working on that later today. I had to take the week off, the last 2 weeks off because of the Comic Con, which I didn't want to do, but whatever. The first book will be out. The first story is 3 books long. The first book will be out this I would say somewhere between August and October. Allotting for the weirdness to occur. Uh, I'll go to Kickstarter for that. I already kickstarted it 2 years. It's going to be 2 years. So this will just be a video game magazine, but then some craziness went on in my life, so I decided to make the full novel. So the backers have been extremely patient, but the whole issue is done in terms of the writing and most of the a lot of the art is broken down, so it's a matter of finishing the game magazine elements and then fine tuning all the art. And then con went really really well, actually. I'm gonna start a video blog post, regular SketchCraft live series on the YouTube channel, uh, in lieu of say I don't do the podcast anymore. That will cover things like going to con and what that's like moving forward. But con went really well in that a lot of people were like, "Oh, I missed the podcast." A lot of people came from the internet to see me, which was really awesome, actually. Like that's the first time I've had that happen in terms of the numbers. It was really cool. Yeah, it was really really awesome, and did not expect that actually. But because I'm using the gradient maps, I'm getting all this color fluctuation, and I'm just painting it tonally underneath, you know, which is really nice. And I'm over here trying to blend tons of colors together. Well, I do have a small tips and tricks section in Photoshop, and I will explain gradient maps further on the YouTube channel. But basically, I'm painting in black and white, and the gradient map is an adjustment layer. So you set a gradient. Let's say it's yellow to red. Anything, um, let's say it goes yellow to red. So I can set up so anything yellow, yellow equals white to Photoshop, and red equals black. Anything in between would be a value of that. So if I want, say, black to be black and red in the middle, Photoshop will add those colors in when you turn the gradient map on and off. So I'm not painting greens and yellows in, I'm painting in black and white. And the adjustment map, the gradient map is doing the coloring for me, basically. What's really cool about it is if I just want to change the whole color scheme, from night to day, I can just adjust the gradient map because the values will be the same. But I don't do well painting just in black and white. Right. The point of this style is that I don't want to lose the pencils. I don't want to lose a ton of that grit. So there's this balance, between color. And I don't want to spend 12 hours coloring it. I really want to get this down to like spent 90 minutes plus, so maybe 2 hours. I want to color this in 4 hours. I'm trying to get every part of my job down to a 4 hour window because that's how much time I have when I come home from work at night. So what's up? That Batman on the left monitor. Yeah, that's an older copy. That's the version I started out with this morning. I just duplicated it. But yeah. There is a link to the YouTube. I'm streaming live in the chat window. Let's see. Let's see if it. I don't know how you now holds on to this. So let me see. Let me see if I can't just quickly copy you a link. So there's the link to my screen stream. So I have YouTube streaming the screen, and you now is streaming me, so we can chat. Right. I don't want to lose it. I just want to build on top of it a little bit. I think that's kind of like one of those things where, a lot of times because there aren't inkers anymore, a lot of times comics aren't being inked, right? They're going straight to color. I don't know, like I don't want to lose the pencils. Yeah. I think a lot of times they smooth it out so everything's perfectly airbrushed, which I don't really want. So, um, efficient? I don't know. Like I'm still working on that. you know, like if this works out, quite efficient. But I would do it for different things. Like pencils are great when you want the pencil texture. But if I don't want that, then I got to do inks, right? But I don't do inks like this. Like I wouldn't ink it. I would ink it like I do my Copics, which are basically like contour outlines. Yeah. For me, it's about maintaining a few different looks, you know, not relying on saying one way is how my art looks. So I have the watercolor saucy stuff, which is really messy and, sort of, um, I won't say fine artish because I hate that term, but hey, what up, Joey? Sorry, I didn't see the QA open. And then I have the Copic thing, which is thin inks with Copic markers. And that thin ink, the way I ink on Copics is the same way I would ink for like Game Cave or something. So, and then I call this brutal, which is that gritty 90s thing, which I like because it's what I grew up with, But it's not for everything. Like you don't want to do Smurfs like this. I mean, you can, that'd be funny, but not a lot of people want to buy that. So, yeah. And then I do have a fourth option, which is the one I use for when I do publish work through other people, like if I get paid for cover art, and that's all digital. That's digital pencils, digital colors. Hey Joey, I see you, dude. Hello, Mayu. So, and the all digital thing just takes forever. But the upside of that is you know, it's the complete final, and I can get tons of details. So, yeah, this will be a print. Yeah, definitely. People were asking me at PhoenixCon, "Do you have this in color? Do you have this in color?" And I'm like, "Shit, I gotta figure out how to color this stuff again." So, I've been working on these gradient maps at work for about a month now. So I stumbled onto it last month, and then I've been spending the entire month at work practicing with it. Yeah, everything's under SketchCraft, SketchCraft.com, SketchCraft. That'll take you to my YouTube. But if you just type SketchCraft into Google, you'll get everything I do, like Minecraft. Boosh. Let's see if I can get the camera. Boosh. The only con I'm going to this year, Joey, is the Amazing Vegas con. I need my cons to be within driving distance right now because I can't get a lot of time off work. Or I can, but I would prefer my time off work be me actually going somewhere for fun. like, take a trip to Europe or something. So if I go to a con, it needs to be within driving distance, and it needs to be something that is focused more on comics or art rather than like The Walking Dead, you know. So the only other one on my slate right now is Amazing Vegas Con, which is in 2 weeks. And then I'll be doing some Kickstarter again here soon. And then maybe in January, there's another amazing con we'll see in the LA area. Trying to get out by you, Joey, but I don't know. We'll see. Cons are expensive. Yeah. So I think this is basically laid out, but I can start to do my drawing on top. So what I'm going to do now is save this, save this, and then I'm going to try to draw on top of some of this stuff with a hard brush, and then I'll blend through what I need to and get all the lighting. So a lot of these techniques are the same ones I use when I scan in the Copics and do the full digital lighting. So I take the Copics, and because they're set to white in terms of lighting, I bring that all dark, and then I build the color on top. Yeah, the hard part's getting into those, and then logistics and getting the time off work, like flying out there. Like I gotta be honest, Joey. Like, like I with the way my schedule is at work, I have to let's say C22 is Friday through Sunday. I'd have to fly out, you know, if it's Friday afternoon it starts, I'd have to fly out Friday morning or late Thursday night. But even then, sometimes I can't take that day off work, so I'd have to miss the first day, which is what happened for PhoenixCon. And that's a pain because that's a whole day you don't get to sell stuff, you know? So I don't know. I'm working on options, put it that way. I'm working on something that will allow me to do that and not have to worry about being there all 3 days. So, but it's gonna take a little bit. I want to go and meet people and say, hey, this is, that I enjoy doing a lot. But yeah. Now all I'm going to do is sample paint on top of the gradient maps, and I'm just sampling from the colors I currently have. And I'm going to set my eraser to the airbrush, so if it's a little sharp on the edges, I can just airbrush out the ends. Oh, I know I've been hearing about it for years, but Chicago. Those kind of cons will be better for me once Game Cave is going, so I can, at least bring the book to sell. You know, what I don't like doing is going to con and having to hustle. So, but like I said, I have some stuff in the works that will solve that problem sooner than later. Yeah. I appreciate it, dude. We'll do. One sec, I gotta clean up your text. Have you drawn any pages for your monster book yet? Oh, what, Ghoul Gears? That's a ways down the way, dude. The the flow will be Game Cave 1-1, 1-2, uh, and then Justice is Served. So how it's gonna work, really starting in the next year, is that I'll do a Game Cave once a year and a standalone book once a year. So or depending on how if Game Cave does really well, then I'll just finish Game Cave up and then do a standalone book, maybe two standalone books in a year, and then you know a Game Cave after that. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what depends on what the response is. The ideal would be one Game Cave book a year, one standalone book a year. And all of those stories take place in the Game Cave universe, just at different time periods. So Monster Book fits right in with that. So I'm self-publishing until I get an option from a publisher. So I refuse to go and pitch books to publishers again because the I've sold a book to Image, and I'm going to tell you right now, dude. It wasn't lucrative at any level whatsoever, and two, what I'm doing, they're not particularly interested in doing right now. So better to do it on my own. You know, if I'm successful, then I'll get an option. I'll have options. Put it that way. Having already sold a book to Image and been through that process, dude, for all the books you see come out through Image, there's a lot that never makes it for a lot of reasons. Put it that way. For a lot of reasons. And one thing I can say too is I'm not a fan of Diamond. Diamond is not good for independent publishers or indie books or anything outside the comic book sphere. So I think the best thing to do is focus on making something really good, getting it out there, and then seeing what options are available to me after the fact. You know. Cool part is anything I do tends to get some kind of option. Like that's where I'm like, well, I may as well just come up with my own stuff and own it, because I've never made something that didn't get an offer. And all this work I've done in fan art has gotten me offers to work on Hasbro stuff, which I've turned down. But so not terribly worried about that part. What I'm more focused on is I just don't want to make something that's compromised. And I've already done that, and then not get to own it. And I think that for me, and I've done that, and that's terribly frustrating. When you produce something that you don't own, even though you created it and pitched it, and then I mean that isn't what Image was about. And Image too, Image isn't really a company that publishes. Like this is something too. Like you gotta They have a lot of different options, but mostly it's like, you either spend all your money and you promote it and they'll just put their stamp on it, or they handle everything and you don't own it. So, you know, some people have been really successful at that model and I haven't. So, and the Game Cave material I have pitched to publishers, and believe me, I've heard every "it'll never work" story there is. And it always comes back to Diamond. I've had to change whole comic book covers because Diamond. No, dude. No, what they'll do is they'll have publishing rights for like 5 years or some deal like that. Or you have to foot all the bills, so you end up with a $10,000, $20,000 publishing bill. Where's that $10,000 to $20,000 coming from? Your life savings, you know? Because if you think like someone's just gonna go, they're gonna go out there. I mean, unless you're super talented, like in the top 6%, you just have this incredible amount of talent. These publishers, they don't feel you could invent anything they can't, you know? So it's not it's not what we grew up thinking where, you're gonna become rich or make a living off it. I've been told, well, it's paying your dues. I'm like, I've done a lot of paying my dues in this industry. I think I'm done. Check is in the mail. And let's say they do print it. They'll print the bare minimum, bro. Like they'll print 500 copies. So what are you supposed to do with that? How are you ever supposed to make any kind of dent? Why do you think the people that get seen are the same people? Like it's a lot of the same people constantly. Because they already have a following. They've already, you don't have to sell them on someone new. So there's just it is anything else in life. It's a game, you know, and I'm still trying to figure out how that game is going to best work for me. You know, everyone's experience is a little bit different. That's why I don't believe in like those books, How to Make It Somewhere, because everyone's experience is going to be different. So you have to figure out what's working for you. And Rob takes ideas to publishers, and publishers own those ideas for 5 years, and probably don't pay Rob to work on it. To speak about myself in third person, is not a model that I'm continuing to play anymore. When I go broke. I mean, there is a certain amount of work you can produce in your lifetime. You do have like a range, like a prime years, and I think I wasted a good. I think 2007, 8 to 2012 was a good 4 year waste. Not of like artistic time because I made the use of it, but definitely in terms of like just going through this grinder, this art grinder, you know, of working with publishers and producing work that won't be seen or owned, and working with writers that don't turn work in and the whole game. Yeah. Like this particular look right here, no publisher wanted this from me. Every publisher I ever met, and they saw my art, wanted me to draw like Sean Galloway. That's basically it. Can you draw like Cheeks? You know? They didn't want the markers or the watercolor. They didn't want me writing anything. So took me a long time to build up the courage to be like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and then move forward with that. So, but it's hard, dude, because the minute you start doing that, like you find out who your friends are. That's for certain. My goal was always to write and draw my own stuff, and I kind of forgot about that. If you really want to, like, it's weird. I forgot that I wanted to write, and because at one point I stopped writing and going, I need to focus on being an artist, and then I'll get back to this writing thing. And I think that was a mistake too, because I went to college and people were like, "Why are you writing stuff? You're going to be an artist. You have to be an artist." And I listened to that. I had forgotten about it. I had to sit down about a year ago and little over a year ago and question. I used to write stuff all the time. I have scripts. My first script I wrote when I was 8. Like it was a sequel to Big Trouble in Little China of all fucking things. And I was like, why did I stop writing? And I remember being told because you're going to be an artist. Artists don't write. Like you got to focus on being an art, and your art kind of isn't that good. So, you know, I listened to that. I don't know why. I don't know why I did. I'm usually pretty. I won't say pighead. I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to that sort of thing. But for some reason, I did listen to it. There was a point where I thought maybe I just didn't know everything. So, I'll just, you know, listen to all these people. And I don't know why I did that. That was a mistake. Well, they can probably meet deadlines better than me too, Joey. Like it's tough. Um, back when I was a kid, dude, things were different. The books sold more, so you could alternate. Say I could do a 1 month and an artist does another month kind of thing. And by the way, the pay you would earn from that would be worth the hours. You're talking pretty lucrative situation. But that's all gone away. So, you know, now you got people basically just cranking out work because they're told it doesn't matter what the art looks like. And half the books now are being done, in CG. So you got, all the city backgrounds are SketchUp, right? So look, I'm not against, but you start to think at what point should an artist not really get the credit, right? And a lot of the work's being done in the colors, and that's a whole thing, you know. I think though, dude, like the thing I had to remember, Joey, was that I never wanted to work for Marvel or DC. You know, like I always just wanted to produce my own stuff, and there was no viable model for that. Nothing. I mean, you had this Image was the closest thing to it, and like I said, that's the first people I went to, and that did not turn out to be a wise idea for a lot of reasons. I'm not putting the blame solely on them, but just that model and all the other independent publishers that popped up around the early 2000s, and then they all went away. So then I got out of it and went into that's when I got the job at Play, so I could produce these. I was supposed to produce video game graphic novels that would be the next game. So here's the idea, right? So like the next Death Junior game we do as a graphic novel, we get story credit, design credit, and then I get to also maybe work on the game or start to branch out into game development in that way, right? But the whole market crashed in 2008, and it took a year for Play to crash. So all my efforts there went away. Those disappeared. Well, that's the game too. The people who rule comics are the editors. Period. It's not the writers. It's the editors. And you make good friends with an editor, you'll have carte blanche to do whatever you want. But yeah, you're gonna hear a lot of double speak. Like here's something that I always found interesting. So growing up, going to cons, I never presented my portfolio. I always would stand on the front of the line and watch portfolio presentations. So um, one of the things I'd see, like at Aspen, right, is guys would come up and they'd be drawing just like Mike Turner, you know, because they figure, hey, that's the look I like, and it's Aspen. And you'd see guys like Peter Steigerwald and the editors, at the time, Christina Z, they'd look at their art and go, well, you need to, you really can't just redraw like Mike, like you'd want to see something, that fits what we do, but, different. But now you got, people that draw there exactly like Mike Turner, but they're girls, right? So it's okay so long as you're a girl to draw like Mike Turner. But if you're a dude, like, and I know why, because the thing I noticed happened about 4 years ago was you put a girl at the booth, you get a ton of guys. It's kind of natural. Guys are pigs. So, so you start to see these girls all drawing like Jim Lee or Mike Turner or whatever. But if I had presented that, it'd be like, oh, you draw like Joe Campbell? It's just weird, dude. You know? And there's nothing I can say about it that doesn't start a fight at a con with somebody, and then you get called a sexist or something, and I'm like, dude, I am the biggest proponent of girls, and I don't know. You get hung up on art styles in this country in a way I don't fully understand. I always said, well, if how I draw would sell and it's fast, the only thing should be about speed, right? Yeah. And when I say draw like, I'm talking about redrawing entire panels, right? Like they're just redrawing Mike. And it's like, shit, should I just become the next? Because I can clone. I don't need a copy. You know, Flip styles, dude. But I don't know, dude. You're young, Joey. I mean, you got more talent than I had at your age. Put it that way. And I've been following. I mean, we've been friends now for what? Since for a while, right? Since 2011. So, you know, I wouldn't hear what I'm saying too much, and I wouldn't give too much of what I say a ton of like, I won't say credence, but I mean, you'll find that there's things that's just going to work for you that didn't work for me for whatever reason. But if you really want to, like, if you really want to work on Spider-Man, I mean, yeah, you got to learn to draw more than just Spider-Man. I get it, you know. But at the same time, like, if that's really something you wanted to do, then do everything you can to pursue that. You know, if you want to make independent comics, you don't need Image to do that. You know, and don't worry about your style. Just produce work that sells. As long as your work sells, that's all they care about. It's taken me 10 years to like learn that lesson, you know? It seems my lot in life is that they used to call me this in high school, and then for some reason it appeared when I was in college, was I was always the secret weapon, is what they would call me. That guy no one knew, was out there, but I'd work in a group and we'd always win, like I could tie everything together, and I'd be up at 2 in the morning making sure the work got done. You know, I don't want to be secret. Right. Yeah, good. You know, one of the problems I came stumbled on when I first worked on comics was again the carpal tunnel. That's something I hadn't figured on. Like here I am, I have enough talent, I got the work, I'm starting to get my feet wet, I'm making, some moves, and now I can't draw because my hand hurts more than life itself. Like like my hand hurts so bad. And and then I got the Cintiq to take care of that, and I finally worked that problem out. It took a year, and then I made this problem. See, a Cintiq is tricky, right? You have this, but I still have to use the keyboard while I'm working. And so my arm was always out like this, and I would lean on it, and I pulled my shoulder out. That took a year of me working on my shoulder to get. So I had to get these mini keyboards that I keep tucked in, and I have to like make certain that I'm not leaning on my arm. You know, it is weird. Like you just start looking at it, like I wonder what the hell's going on. Like, it shouldn't be this hard. I remember sitting there at Comic Con with some friends of mine who've been quite successful in comics. I'm like, guys, I don't know what it is, but it really seems like this is hard, like harder than it probably should be. And they laughed. They're like, yeah, I don't know why. I'm like, maybe I don't like to think I'm not difficult to work with. Like I don't think I have all the answers, but you just run up against these problems. Sometimes. At least I do. I run up against these problems, and I'm like, I don't know, man. The only thing I could say is that the work is never so. Like I don't. I've always sided on producing good work. So whatever happens, I have that. Yeah, I guess I have, but I mean, whatever, dude. The Marvel trying to come after me and losing my job thing. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. That put me off from ever wanting to work directly for them. Because that wasn't like a secondhand situation. That was direct from Marvel, and I get their point of view, but At the same time, I don't really care. that was that was fun, you know, a fun experience. It's all good though, dude. Like, I sort of feel like even now everything's kind of just starting. Some people don't hit it big when they're young. Some people hit it big when they're younger or older. Sorry, you know. This might be one of those guys that that does that. But it has been difficult to like turn down work. That's been the interesting part, dude. Like since I went solo, like uh I've been offered work from everybody on properties that I've always wanted to work on too, like turtles and shit. What happened if I? Well, the dude couldn't do anything about it, is what happened. Because I replied to their DMCA with the proper legal information, and so they couldn't do anything about it. And so then the dude somehow on some blog I had, it said that I worked for a company, and so he found that and then went out to that company, which turns out I still worked for. It was funny when I put it up, I didn't actually work for that company anymore. Like I'd put that up years ago and then quit, and then I came back, so that was still up. I just forgotten about it, and so he had found that and then went to them and said, "Hey, we think you might have this guy working for you, and he seems to think he owns Marvel characters and can do whatever he wants." So they dragged me into a room with my Kickstarter up, and then, which isn't the case. I don't think I own Marvel characters, dude. And they're like, "Well, it's fan art." I'm like, "Yeah, and you don't own fan art. If Marvel owned fan art, why do you think they can't put fan art on T-shirts and posters? Because they don't own the art. Like if you take a photo, if I take a photo of you know uh, Robert Downey Jr. in an Iron Man outfit, yeah, they own Iron Man, but they don't own my photo. They can't take that photo and make a poster out of it, you know. But they don't want to admit that anywhere. So anyhow, so they got a hold of these guys. They dragged me in a room, and basically it was take it down now, and we have to review your employment. And so I just basically said, I walked out. Walked out. Because they told me I couldn't even go to cons and draw pictures of Wolverine on top of it, So it wasn't just like it wasn't just about the Kickstarter, which I could have cared less about. It was now is like, well, if we see you producing, they were like, they wanted access to my Facebook, they wanted access to what I was doing. We want a list of everywhere you're going, like all the shit. I mean, like I'm not gonna do this. When I was a kid, high school kid, um, there was this book called Boiled Angels, right? And this guy was drawing. It was a lot of sex, weird, crazy shit. He produced that in Miami, and he sold it direct to mail order, right? So you had to get a hold of him, buy it through him. He mailed it to you. Somehow, some kid got a hold of this, and a judge decided to declare that artist, the guy who made his own book, crazy. And so they had to monitor everything he drew. And I only know about it because it made the headlines in Wizard, and the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund had to get involved, and and I'm like, I can't live in a world where my art is monitored by any agency, whether I'm employed for them. I can't live in that universe, you know? Like, and I saw that's what was happening. That seemed to be it started to head toward that scenario. I'm not going to ask anyone for permission to draw anything ever, Like I don't, that's not me, dude, you know? I serve my fucking country. I believe in the Constitution. I don't believe in that Stalin shit. So, you know, I walked out that day. You know? And everyone would say, "Oh, you did the right thing." No, 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 no. But in that scenario, you can't believe, Joey, how many people told me, "Just keep your job, just let it go, just fly under the radar. It won't matter." I'm like, dude, why are you still working for these people? Well, you got to pay your bills. I'm like, yeah, you were just following orders. You know, some of my friends are like, you can go to the media. I'm like, media doesn't give a shit. No one cares. They're just gonna say, well, he's selling fan art, so what does he care? I'm like, look, if these are the rules at where I work, and if this is how Marvel wants to play, then fuck them all, dude. I don't need this shit. I mean, honestly, Joe, like, yeah, but I was the guy. I'm like, wow, I beat the odds. I'm the guy that's gonna get the shit, right? I'm the guy that the hammers decided fall down on for whatever reason, Joe. Like, in that way, I'm like, man, if only I was so lucky playing the lotto, right? I wish I was that lucky, like at cards or the lotto, or I seem to beat the odds when it comes to these crazy situations. And anyone who's ever hung out with me, it's weird. Check it out, Joey. Right? I never watched Seinfeld as a kid. Right? It just wasn't my kind of thing. I didn't get it. Tried to watch an episode, didn't get it. Didn't think it was funny. I was more like Married with Children, Beavis and Butthead, that kind of dude. Since this stuff went down, a friend of mine told me, dude, your life, you really remind me of like Larry David. I'm like, who the fuck is Larry David? They're like, well, Seinfeld. I'm like, huh? So then I had to be told that Seinfeld was that series is primarily based off Larry David's life. So I started rewatching Seinfeld, and I can't tell you how many similarities there are. Like I'm this guy that like weird shit will happen when you hang out with me. Just weird, odd things. You go get a haircut, you're gonna have an experience. It's never just gonna be you got a haircut. Brandon will attest to that. Like just odd shit happens when you know, doesn't help when you're trying to make a career. I won't lie. That's why I always tell people don't hate Marvel for me though. Like I'm sure your experience will be much better. You'll probably do quite well in life. Like, you know, I just have this odd fucking thing that I'm trying to work around. You know, I'm trying to make work. You know, it's only gotten to me once. You know, I can say honestly, one time it got to me around 2012. Before this shit with Marvel went down, I first tried to make Game Cave with Bacon, and it didn't go very well, and I got all depressed. But this lawyer, just decided that he didn't like me. You know. And by the way, the company that I worked at, the vice president was also a lawyer. So me and lawyers don't get along too well. Turns out, shocking. Here's a newsflash. But what was funny is one of the backers was a lawyer too. So they didn't like that I had the legal info readily available. You know, I could tell that was a thorn. We got one that can see. It's a problem. Uh, Look, think about this, right? And it didn't really dawn on me, until after all this shit went down. Oh, hello. What's up, Enderman? Is that remember you I mean you're kind of young, but you Joey, do you know do, do you know about the flack McFarlane got when he wrote Spider-Man? Are you aware of that? Right. So here's the scenario, right? So like Todd decides he's going to quit Spider-Man because he wants to write and draw. He already, inks his own work, whatever. He wants to write and draw. So they offer him his own Spider-Man book to do that in. So he's going to quit anyway. They offer him his own Spider-Man book. Now, how many Spider-Man stories are out there that you just don't remember? There's about a billion, right? There's the stuff you know about, and then there's all those issues in between. Like, eh, there a lot of them are just whatever. So he gets to write his own book, and that just set off the shockwave at the time. Like, how dare this guy? He thinks he's a writer. He's just fucking artist. And I at the time I laughed as a kid because the only books that I was reading was Turtles, Ninja Turtles, right? And those guys wrote and drew their own stuff. So I'm like, obviously artists can write a book, man. Like these aren't fucking this isn't Tolstoy here. This isn't, these aren't novels or fucking comic books, man. Like, it's not that hard. And the shit he got. This is horrible. This is nothing makes any sense. Da, 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 da. It's like shit, dude. Like, but the problem is, there is a machine set up, Joey, that wants you to do one thing, you know, one thing. You draw, you ink or you color or you write. You do not you do not do two or more, you know. And if you do, we're going to make certain that you do not make a living off that either, you know. It's a grinder, dude. So I always say, look, you want to be in comics, pick something, you know. Pick something, do it well, do it fast. You start, but in life, I believe you should do more than one. Never specialize. Because the minute you specialize, the second they don't need you to do that, you're out of job. So the thing I've always done is being able to do more than one thing. Graphic design, inking, coloring, whatever. Now painting. I'm not saying I'm going to be the greatest at them. I'm never going to be like Alex Ross or one of those fine artists from like Jeff Watts school, or I'm never going to be like that. But I can do enough, you know, do enough of any of it to make some money, which is a completely different scenario together. So then he leaves Spider-Man, he goes make Spawn, whatever. Case closed. Now he's a business guy too, right? But and if you really want to be known, you really have to work for the big two. There's no way around that. I mean, look, dude, Capullo's the greatest underrated fucking talent in the history of comics. Like I've always known this since his days on X-Force. I was like, this dude was the only guy who could draw X-Force better than like Lee was drawing X-Men. And then he went to draw Spawn, and he made Spawn infinitely even better than Todd was able to do. And the Creed. I used to always say he's like the most underrated guy in comics. But it wasn't until he started working on Batman that people knew who he was. So there's that, right? Right. So yeah, never specialize, man. But in comics, definitely pick one thing to pitch yourself as. Mhm. And do it super fast. Yeah, Stuart Eminem's dope. You know. Did Stewart did he draw you remember a book Busick wrote? It's fucking awesome, dude. There was only like 4 issues. What was it called? I want to say it's 2001, somewhere between 98 2001. It was they raced spaceships. I can't remember if that was him that drew that. I think it was him that drew that. There's this one where they drew yeah, it was about racing spaceships. It's a fucking awesome book. But I'll be honest though, Joey, like I don't read comic books much anymore. Like if I read any book this year, it's gonna be the new Zim book. You know what I mean? From Vasquez. Like I don't read comic books anymore. Not that I don't like them. I think there's some great stuff being produced. It's just the kind of things that I'm reading now are like light novels, like sword art and stuff. I think right now the most underrated artist in comics is fucking uh what's his name? He's drawing the time travel book for Mike Millar. Brain farting. Um he inks his own stuff. Chrono Watchers guy. Like when they announced The Dark Knight Returns Part 3, like I was like he should draw this. Like big time. Yeah, Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy, I mean, and I've been following it. I mean, I first saw his stuff on the Shangline boards back in 2003, 2004. He's just a master storyteller. Like he's one of those guys that's sort of born with it, like, oh, that dude's got it. So Sean Murphy should be drawing the entire Dark Knight 3 thing by himself. And then maybe you get like a watercolorist to go over his stuff, but yeah, dude's fucking awesome. But I'm not producing a grip of work like him, so yeah. See, it's what he likes to do. But if I had my choice, he's complained about whether that was a good idea for him or not. Yeah, he turned down working on Assassin's Creed once, and he was complaining about that. Like that may not have been the smartest idea. I won't lie, dude. I get an offer to work on Assassin's Creed, I'm gonna go work on it. I'm not stupid. The offers I've been getting just aren't enough. They aren't enough, dude. You know, to flip careers again. I have no doubt. But again, I get an offer to work on Spawn. I'm gonna work on Spawn. Hold on one second. Yeah, I got offered to work on some TMNT stuff, but it's the kitty cartoon version. And I'm done working on kitty books, dude. You know, I played ball with the Richie Rich shit. Yeah, for some reason I get lumped into that thing. That I'm. I got some new. If I talked to Todd, never spoken with Todd actually. I did enter that contest. Never, never got in. Yeah, but I think he'd want to see a bunch of pages, you know? Well, these are nice pinups, but where's all your pages? And I don't know, man. You know, once I get a couple game caves under my belt, maybe I'll sit down and try to get back to like messing around with page art, you know, again. If I did page art, it'd have to be loose pencils like this stuff, you know? 'Cause I'm never gonna go back to doing how I did it before. Like it's just too much effort for not enough return. Right. Do, do, do. Yeah, but I'd want to make certain I could do it for more, you know? I won't lie, Joey, like, you know, there are certain things to drawing comics that, you know, I'm not the greatest with, you know. And I think part of it's getting past, you know, like part of it, like I always had to make sure my shit was cleaned up because I never got an inker, you know. So obviously with him that wouldn't be a problem. That helps, you know. But I do fear the carpal tunnel. I won't lie, dude. Like I fear it. I fear. I don't want to go through that pain again. So there's a little bit of mental issues that I have to kind of overcome, you know. So what I've done in the meantime is I've tried to work a little bit of that panel work into some of the commissions you've seen. Like sometimes I'll throw in like a landscape panel, you know, and I'll probably start to do more of that for the commission stuff, you know, just to kind of like feel comfortable, you know. And then I'll block in some time to be like, let me just plan out 4 pages and see if I can just do this. What can I do? You know, kind of almost done with this, but I need to think about for a second. Yeah, I've thought about it, but the red background. But I've done that, and I'll show you what I didn't like about it. I'll show you. I don't want candy colors, right? So I don't really don't want to do that, you know. I don't want that. So believe me, I've entertained all of it. What I'm trying to do is less cartoonish and more of these kind of bronzish steel kind of colors. So it's red. It's warm red. His lines are tinted red too. See? And start to play around with it. Like the best you can do is I don't want to do that. Yeah, I thought about like the animated series, but that was one of my initial ideas moving forward. But what I don't want to do is it turn into, like I said, God, I don't. How do I say this? Hey, what's up, Cal? You mean maroon? Yeah, I know, but it is there. It's just as a purple. See, I don't want to turn it. How do I say this? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, We'll see. We shall see. Just attended a few conventions. Well, it's like the commissions. If I make certain that I offer, if I have a commission or two available here and there, people stop freaking out. So if I go to a con, then the the difference is I've made it so it has to be within driving distance because I'm not taking time off work to go to cons. I'm sort of like done with that idea. Oh, nice. Yeah, Angel's a good guy. Cool beans, dude. Yeah, he's a cool dude, man. Kiss Psycho Circus, dog. Yeah, the only other convention I'm doing this year is the Vegas Con, which just happens to be in like 2 weeks. So, 1 second. Didn't hear about what the. You're very kind. Angel's a much better artist than I am. Yeah, I think Joey, the thing is, in terms of like whether I try or not try, is I prided myself for years of never being a starving artist. My trying led me to a point where I couldn't afford to buy oranges once. And I won't lie, dude. I don't have family to lean on. So like I have to be very careful at this point in my life about what I do and do not try at pursuing because it could lead me down a path that I refuse to travel down again, you know? Like when I was 26, it was like, hey, I could take a hit like that. Um, I'm not I'm not there right now. So, and I get it. Not every place is going to be the same, but uh, it can be difficult. I'll fix that. games am I looking forward to this year? Arkham Knight. I don't play a lot of AAA games. They seem to all be the same game to me. But I'm looking forward to Arkham Knight. Um, Star Fox if it comes out this year like it was supposed to. Um, I'm looking forward to VR from the Vive. I have the Oculus, but I'm looking forward to the Vive, and hopefully I'll get VR support for Gone Home. Gone Home. Alone. Alone in the. There's this game I got, Lonely Dark or whatever. That's really awesome. Um, what else am I looking forward to this year? It's not a lot left this year. Oh yeah, I played The Last of Us. I like anything Naughty Dog does. I don't have the time to finish it though. So there's only a few games that I sit down and really buy, like GTA 5. I'll play any GTA game all the way through. And Mario, like 3D Land and 3D World. Mighty Number 9. I like a lot of indie games too, you know. So uh I don't think Dragon Quest 8's coming this year. Oh, Dragon Quest Heroes. I'm looking forward to that. When it comes to gaming, I like a lot of indies and Japanese. And then there's a few American games I really look forward to, like um, Naughty Dog stuff is dope, but they're not coming out with anything this year. Battlefront, maybe, maybe. Don't play a lot of multiplayer games because people ruin games for me. I play a lot of my Diablo 3, so I look forward to that, or just playing more of it. I might try Heroes of the Storm. I'm not a MOBA guy, but because Blizzard made it, I'd be willing to give it a shot. But a lot of the stuff I'm playing now is just random demos in VR. Like I really enjoy VR, so the Vive I'm probably looking the most forward to. My gaming tastes are different than the average gamer, you know. Like I love playing Minecraft in VR. Love it. It's fantastic. What I really want is a tactics, Final Fantasy Tactics game in VR. Like my own little chess set of dudes. Oh, dude, I saw Mad Max 3 times, bro. Three! Will the game be cool? I don't know. You know, I when it comes to AAA games, I tend to wait a year after they're released, unless it's Grand Theft Auto. Other than Grand Theft Auto, I like to wait a year. Um, just because you get the Game of the Year edition, you get all the fixed stuff. So probably this year I'll probably finally play Shadows of Mordor, you know, when it's dirt cheap. Bargain gaming, bro. You know? The only thing I buy new out the gate are like indie games and stuff. Like I peruse through Steam Greenlight all the time. You know, I like to see what three people can make, you know. But I do get a kick out of things like Final Fantasy 15. I mean, the tech and everything. I'm a big fan of that sort of stuff. Right. The game looked cool, you know. But I'll be honest, like I when it comes to standard games, like say AAA games, I tend to fall asleep after about an hour. Like my kinds of games would be like I love Mario, anything I play on my 3DS. I love games like Journey, you know, and then a lot of immersion type experience. There's a game I have on my VR called Windlands. It's pretty awesome. Those guys are slowly making a full version of that. I backed on the Kickstarter, which, you know, some games can't be made in indie, right? Like an Arkham Knight style game, just you need a production. So, same with the Mad Max. I think this is almost done. But what I don't do anymore, man, is I don't just buy games and let them sit on a shelf and not get played. You know, like that's what a lot of gamers do, right? Like we buy them and they sit there. So I love gaming news. I love finding out about games, you know. Looking forward to see what Nintendo has up their sleeve. Hopefully they make that Battle Chasers game, right? What time is it? It's almost 2. So I got to definitely wrap this up. I want to play the Game of Thrones Telltale game because I like point and click adventures. Well, I think we're way past that option at this point, right? You know, so we're way past that option. So if getting him to make a Battle Chasers game is the way we get more Battle Chasers, then I can deal with it. You know, I'm with you, but what can we do, right? I thought it looked cool. I couldn't play Fallout 3 because I didn't like the look of it. It just looked like I was walking around in an oil can, you know. So I like the color, a lot. So I'll probably actually give it a shot. I don't know if I'll buy it. I think I'll. What just happened? Dude, what the? Why is the E? That's so weird. Every now and then you encounter a new bug you didn't know was ever there. Dude, that's because his books sell, right? So like, back in the day, guys used to make 50,000. They made between 20 to $50,000 a book. You know, when I was a kid, and that's when I wanted to be a comic book artist. You know, because they were selling millions of issues. When you sell millions of issues, bro, think about the return per book. So do I, Joey. And I gotta be honest with you, that's when it's like, well, you know, given the amount of money I can make for who I am, I just don't see a point in pursuing something that it isn't what, isn't what it was when I was a kid. Like, it wasn't the reason why I got into it. I should have pursued, like, learning how to code. You know, probably should have done that. If I could go back and change anything. I get people who saw the trailer for Fallout 4 and wanted more of Fallout 3 in terms of its design aesthetic. I get that, Just don't particularly agree with it. I think James Wan's a good ensemble director. And I've been a fan of the Fast and the Furious movies for a long time, much to the dismay of friends of mine who go, "Really, Rob?" I'm like, "Yeah, they did a good job with the stunts, and they're fun movies." So I think he's a good choice. You know? I just hope script-wise we don't deal with some chosen one aspect to his storyline. That it isn't like, you know. As for Robotech, Robotech was always one of those things that was cool in its design and the execution. You know, I wonder how much jazz singing will be in the Robotech movie. I imagine not much. So, you know, I always enjoyed the novel that was based off of the Macross novel. So if it's about us getting a superstar destroyer, and rebuilding it and back engineering that technology for when the aliens attack, then and it's like Top Gun in that aspect with Veritech fighters against the alien armada. Hey man, I'm for that movie. If it's about finding jazz, singing and karaoke, then not my thing. Well, just I never got the singer aspect of that storyline. The whole I don't know. Let me think about this for a second before I. Mm. Oh yeah, I like Cowboy Bebop, but that's a heist. I mean, you want that kind of music. I love acid jazz and shit like that. But playing jazz during a heist, that's one thing. I'm all for it. Love heists. Big heist guy. I mean, I'm listening to funk now in the earphone. You know, so I'm more interested in what the script for Robotech is. And it's like when if they make a Voltron movie, I hope it's based more off the storyline from the original anime than the American version. You know, the American version, has the better theme song, and that's it. The Go Lion anime is far superior, other than the theme song. Yeah, I think that again that comes down to probably Pacific Rim not doing the numbers. You know, you know. Probably as far as I want to take it. Let's see. Let me save that. I should have set this up on my board before I started, but whatever. Probably the only thing I'm really looking forward to now is Mission Impossible and True Detective Season 2, and then Star Wars. I'm iffy on Ant-Man. I gotta be honest with you. The merchandising guides for that movie are so maybe the movie's great. I can't wait to. I hope it is. Put it that way. I hope it is because it would be like a heist superhero movie, which I'm all for. So we'll see. Yeah, but that had James Gunn, which I was always a fan of. So um, how do I want to do this? Let me make a duplicate. Yeah, dude, Fargo is that's highly underrated. Believe me, I was like, ah, Coen Brothers, dude. Do you really want to go there? But yeah, yeah, good call, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it, Joey. I should have done this on the board though when I was coloring. It wasn't on my A game this week. Just the I didn't sleep. I missed. Let's say I went from Friday to Friday morning till 11 o'clock Saturday night. So it was like 37, 39, somewhere between 30 something hours, which, gets harder as you get older. So kind of threw off my work week a little bit. Hmm. Wonder if I should. You know what I wish they would do for games like Arkham Knight is not just get a Batman skin, but make a whole. I really wish they'd make conversion mods for like professional conversion mods. So if I want to play the game so it looks like maybe not okay, obviously not all the backgrounds because that would be incredibly difficult. But like if I bought a skin for the animated Batman, that all the characters look, all the bad guys and the goons and stuff, you know, that would be awesome. I'd pay for that, $30. Um, this way you can just keep artists hired all the time, on games and make DLC packs that are just like, full skin jobs and shit. Like, Do 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 do. I gotta clear out these Q&As on the. It is tough. On Google Hangouts, it doesn't always put when you guys ask things on top. Like it mixes it all up. So every now and then I have to go through and clear it out. I have no Hangout session where we can all talk through the mics. I could try it sometime, Joey. It's probably not a bad idea. No one's asked me that before. I don't even know how you. Cameraman. Oh, I see. You know what? Here's the thing, dude. In order to do that, I gotta add you as an actual guest. So, um, oh, 1 second. So yeah, just there. Um, there. So what I can do, Joey, from now on, you can still see this, right? So what I'll do is I can add you. Anytime I stream. You don't. By the way, if you get the update, you don't have to join. It's just if you're free, you want to chat, you can chat. So from now on, because that's what I do. I actually go through and I select Brandon and I select my buddy Mike. Right. Well, then I just delete you. So, but it's not set up so anyone who joins can like do that. It's just I can have like up to 3 guests or something like that. So. Yeah, but I'll do that. So if you see it, because you'll get a notification, you don't have to, but I'll just put you on the list because I do, and they never join. It's hilarious, you know. You'll get Brandon who doesn't even talk, you know, just sits there. Hilarious. As for, I don't know how you make a Superman game, dude. Like, in my opinion, for me, the best way to make a Superman game is probably something more like Telltale, where it's a point and click, like it's an adventure game on some level. I don't know how you simulate Superman. Everyone's tried it, everyone's failed, you know. I mean, you have like the fighting games, you know, where you just basically can get the shit kicked out of them. I don't know, you know. Let me see. Um, Trying to type in your name and it's not popping up. You got an email, Joey? Sometimes the email works better than typing in names. I'll be honest, I'm pretty much done though with this. So I'm just fine tuning. Email me at rob@sketchcraft.com so I have your email. And then the next time I do this, which is probably like tomorrow, not MetaWorks. There you go. Let's see if I can't just get it to work. And let's see if that went through. At least test it. Last thing I'm gonna do is set up a color fillet black. We're gonna go filter, noise, add noise, 2% monochromatic, and set that to screen. That keeps any banding from occurring when it prints. I'm gonna log back on at 4 though to sketch out this Deadpool. If you want to join me then, see if that link works, Joey, because I sent it. Well, I sent a link to your MetaWorks email. So A little sloppy. I don't know how that worked out. Yeah, that's what I sent it to. Oh, I see. There you go. Try that.
Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Rob, can you hear me? Rob, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Hey, is it working? Rob, can you hear me? It's echoing kind of. Oh my gosh.
Huh.
That's why
I
I was
can't hear.
echoing.
You know, here's the thing, dude. Joey,
I fixed it. I
for
fixed it.
some reason, my sound driver is not letting me hear sound through my computer. I forgot about it. I couldn't hear music earlier. I had to switch to my headset. So I got to
So,
reboot.
so you can
The
hear me
Google
now.
Hangouts plugin. I'm gonna dump you, but we'll try it again in a second when I log off. See, everyone can hear you but me. That's how this works.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and like log out, and then I'll reboot the computer when I go to do the Deadpool.
All right. Trying to get out of here.
So, but it definitely works. So I'll add you from now on whenever I stream.
All right. Sounds good. Trying to get it to go to the actual video.
Test. All right.
All right. Sounds good. It was playing back twice for some odd reason. I think it's because I had two videos up at the same time.
There. So I got to reboot, but this is done. This is good enough. So I'm gonna log back on at about 4 o'clock and work on this Deadpool piece. I gotta get set up. So thanks for hanging out. And Joey, I'll send you a link when I go log back on. I gotta reboot. Like I said, I don't know why. For some reason I couldn't hear sound, but Windows. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.